Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Red Alert for Anfield Index. Here we sit on the 5th of March, looking back at February, 3 points clear at the top of the league. So you'd think it would be a perfect month, wouldn't it? You could argue that, but there were highs, there were lows, there were smiles, there were cry, there were all sorts of things to talk about in this month. And as ever, I've got the usual crowd. I've got Mark and Jamesy to talk me through the month, give their thoughts for February, give their thoughts for March, and then probably just cry a little bit about the contract situation like we always do. We'll ask the normal questions, so we'll get them straight on the spot. In a word, gents, to sum up February, Mark, I'll come to you first of all. A word or a phrase for February?
Exhausting.
Not a bad one, actually, when you think about it. Jamesy?
Champions.
Oh, maybe. I think they call that top trumps, to be honest, don't they? So, yeah, it did feel like one hand on the trophy. But let's look back to February. I mean, the weirdest thing, people, when you think about February, I swear, considering it's officially the shortest month of the year, it felt like there was 8,000 games during the month of February. No two ways about it. But when you just sit and look at that table, it is highly erotic, isn't it? 67 points against Arsenal's 54, having played a game more. Mark, I mean, we look at some of the fixtures for February. And by the way, there were 8 in total. I swear there were about 8,000, but it was just the 8. What are the overall thoughts on the month?
Yeah, I just thought it was a crazy emotional month. I just felt like we went through the ringer. You know, I went from thinking it was happening to not happening to sure it was happening to it's definitely not happening to, you know, just a whole thing. And that started all the way back at Bournemouth. And the first real emotion I remember in the month was watching Clivert miss that chance at 1-0, you know, and the scare we got there. A guy absolutely banging form misses that, and you think, cool, you know, how has that sort of happened? Then the release when Salah bends that absolute monster into the corner just to finish them off. There was pure joy really watching the Spurs game. That was just, you know, we were electric, just dismantled them, didn't we? Properly dismantled them. Kind of disappointment watching us limp out. You know, I know we'll all agree eventually that it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But for that 90 minutes, there's disappointment watching us abjectly kind of limp out against a weaker opponent with a team that easily could have beat them, easily, you know, on a different day. The ecstasy when Salah puts us ahead late on in the derby, and you think, my God, there's just nothing this team can't do, you know, no level we can't reach, you know, very quickly followed by the agony of them equalising in the 99th minute, just crushing thing. The massive frustration at various times also in the Villa game with the misses that we had. Oh my God. In those ones, a little bit of frustration also in the Wolves one, where you know, it just felt like we weren't going to get there. It wasn't going to be enough. You know, the second half they battered us. They rammed the door down. It was scary, to be honest. It was you know, it was the furthest thing from assured. And like I say, yeah, the frustration against Villa with the two misses in particular, the Jota and the Nunes ones. Watching another couple of points go missing. And actually, at that point, if we're being honest, the fear that Arsenal were going to catch us, you know, there was real are the wheels coming off this kind of thing. I mean, it's easy to look back now and see that those were the 2 draws were decent results, and they are. You know, it's hard places to go, and the way it's all gone, no disappointment with that. But at the time, it was real, like, because City are up next, real. Now we've got to go and win this. We've got to go and beat City in their own background. A ground, you know, that we almost never win at. Just a really scary prospect at the time. And like I say, the fear that we were going to just blow it. It was all going to come off. And then the absolute relief when we realized we are not going to blow it. We're just going to blow them away. And we did, and showed ourselves just to be a better side than City. Just no two ways about it. We were just better than them. the kind of fears of what might have been had we failed to win there kind of washed away by a really, really professional, controlled, kind of champion-like performance by us against City. I really just enjoyed everything I saw there. Even the way we let them have it, towards the end, we kind of let them come on to us with like an inner belief that we could withstand whatever they had. Doku can beat Trent another 10 times, and it doesn't matter. We've got everything kind of marked up in the box. Kanate's covering time and time again. It was just a really, really nice display, that. And then the month finishes with kind of the delight that we see what we really are and where we're going. That this title is looking extremely likely now, really in our hands. Again, not unlike the City game, we just looked like a professional outfit that are capable of just swatting away seriously competent Premier League teams. This is, these are both Champions League battling sides, City and Newcastle, and we made them look abject. We weren't, I never doubted either of the results. Kind of 10 minutes into the game, you could feel what we were going to do to them, and we did. So, the month as a whole, it was really emotional, very up and down. There was a point there in the middle where I have to admit my confidence cracked, and I was worried, and I was, kind of losing my shit. A lot of people were doing it. I think with the years gone by of having City chase us, you have this kind of lingering fear of you just want to be like 20 points clear with 19 points available. And until it's that moment, you don't feel confident or comfortable. And I had been feeling that all the way through until really these last two, where, Arsenal have fluffed their lines and we've just perfectly delivered ours. And we finished the month pretty certain of where it's all going now, I think, and really confident going into the next month. Just a really phenomenal place we find ourselves.
Jamesy, I asked you for a word and you gave me the word champions. That we know in our group chat, I'm the middle one. You're like that Zen level-headed, and Evans goes up and down, and one draw or one loss and the world's caving in. Like, now you're looking back, what are you thinking, Feb?
I think it was great. I mean, we had a bit of luck. We were unlucky. We played different kinds of style of football. We were good in midfield. We let City have the ball. We had that ugly win against Wolves. I mean, you can't really knock Everton. It was 2-2. It was like the most, let's say, historic draw in their history. Before, like, obviously they leave Goodison Park. So let's just kind of say what it is. It's a derby game, and it's like a cup final to them. And we were very unlucky with Canati because that was a foul all day. That's my own opinion. And then just how we dismantled City and Newcastle. And hats off to our corner routine, because I think that's one of the first corners we've scored this season. So, and I guess I was a bit disappointed with Plymouth because of the 1-0 defeat. And the reason I'm disappointed is because of Harvey Elliott and Chiesa and Nunez, because that would have been a perfect cup run, would have been perfect for their form, would have been perfect for their actual fitness as well. And that didn't come to fruition for them. Chiesa was stinking, and Harvey Elliott, again, was it a penalty? I'm not sure what he was doing in regards to where his arm was, and then obviously the referee gave it. But we were very poor that time, and it's just one of those things. But the thing that impresses me the most is to win the Premier League, you need three things. You need luck, you need injuries, and you need form. And we've had all three. Our form has been fantastic. And I'm not even talking about the team. I'm talking about the actual players showing up, turning up. Like, you think about, we talk about Salah and we talk about the midfield, but we also have to give a mention to Alisson and this month and how much he dug us out. Just those amazing saves. That gives us that wee different dimension.
That's right.
And then, to round that all off, and something we haven't had in a long time is legs. Is legs in that Liverpool team where we can run and run and run and run. And then the other thing, when it comes to the midfield, we're starting to score goals. So Bosley and McAllister starting to chip in, and that's a big bonus on everything that we're doing. Moving on to March.
It is crazy when you think about it. I mean, if you take away Evans's temper tantrums and up and down and you balance that month, it starts beautifully, doesn't it? I mean, that's a great result against an informed team at Bournemouth. Like you said, dismantled Spurs, and that was a bit of revenge because it was annoying that 1-0 defeat in the first leg. Then, I don't know if you call it a wobble. Like, I actually thought for a sec, James, you were going to say it wasn't a penalty where Harvey Elliott does his volleyball block on the line type of thing, like to make sure it doesn't go over. That one, yeah, that one, the last minute, it just felt like a knife in the heart, that, didn't it? A plucky victory. And you're thinking, draw, just what we could do with just solidifying a bit here. But the finish in different ways. I mean, that 66% possession, that I think 34%, different types of victories, but absolutely brilliant and so much to like. And I'm intrigued for this, Jamesy, because you named the two midfielders. Now, I understand you've been back to Ireland recently. I can only assume that was to apologise to everyone in Ireland about you slagging off Mo Salah that time. So, with a chance to redeem yourself, who is the February player of the month?
So about Salah, obviously it's Salah, and I'm going to go through a couple of the stats where it's absolutely mind blowing. And honestly, if he doesn't get the Ballon d'Or, there's something wrong. Because the things that this man's doing at the moment, and I'm just going to take the Premier League because it's very hotly contested in regards to. We're talking the best ever. This is the kind of echelon that we're going up to. When you take goals and contributions, Shearer and Cole with 47, then it's Henry with 44, and then it's Haaland with 44. At the moment, Mo Salah is sitting with 42 goal contributions. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing. And then digging in a little bit further, goals and assists in a game is 11, right? Messi was 11, so we're equal to the world's greatest. Now, if he honestly doesn't get a Ballon d'Or this season, is it due to the people that are voting for him, or what actually is it? Because it's mind-blowing. And the last thing I would like to say would be Hughes and Cole give Mo his dough.
Well, he's gone early on the contract question, although to be fair, I think everyone is thinking the same. But yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for Mark to put up any counter-argument against Mo Salah here.
Yeah, we almost need to do like a accept Mo Salah, who's been the best player this month section, because it's getting dull. He's how could you? I think it was another 7 goals this month, pile of assists. He just absolutely relentless. Not small goals either, almost all meaningful. Madness. There's an air about him. This sort of business-like air about him this season that, he finished last season kind of saying Liverpool should be amongst the trophies. He's one of those guys that like rarely speaks publicly, and when he does, it matters, and he says it because he means it and he wants to live up to it, and he just has in the most emphatic way. He's literally from the word go this season. He's been. Van Dijk's brilliant and relentless, and Alisson's incredible and consistent, and all these different things. But there is something above and beyond with Mo that we're seeing this year, even bigger than we've seen before from him in kind of leadership terms. He's just somehow carrying that mantle for us in a way that you rarely see done, really rarely. Even I would go as far to say is he's carrying us in a way that even Gerrard might have struggled to do, that good. He's taking it on that much. He's delivering that often in that many games. It's every single time. You just don't see that. You really don't. It's not. It's like James said. We're talking all-time great stuff here, and he is the answer. I think we have to take a little minute for Szoboszlai, I think, to mention his contribution this month. Really incredible. I think he got 3 goals this month. It wasn't just the goals, though. It was the way he carried himself, the kind of there was just an air of kind of self-belief about him this month that we'd seen flashes of in patches over his time at Liverpool, but he's really collected it in the overall package that we're getting now in a really incredible way. He's captain-like, he's driving us forward, the quality on the ball, the moments. So there's been big talking points around Szoboszlai this season about his willingness to shoot or take on the big moment, the big pass, and how brave is he, how cowardly is he? And as you two know, I've fallen on the kind of cowardly side of that argument, and ultimately he's made people like me eat our words this month, because the moments that he's chosen to shoot or to pass or not to critically have been perfect, absolutely perfect. Amazing kind of game management intelligence and absolute quality to deliver, in the important moments.
It's insane. Although, to be fair, that's a pretty old meal you're packing and eating your words, because for the man who predicted that Manchester United had a better transfer window than us and they'd finished above us, it's stacking up into a good 3-course meal there.
Well, I still agree with one of those. We signed nobody.
Well, can't help himself, can he? But yeah, absolutely. It's strange, isn't it? It is a very fair point. Mo Salah delivers a legendary month, literally legendary in terms of Premier League, as Jamesy says. And Dominic Szoboszlai absolutely storms it. And it's like, you're brilliant, but it's not you, mate, type of thing. You're just literally a level, it's so harsh to say, but literally a level below Mo Salah, mainly just because he is that much ahead of everyone else. And I think I'm going with you. Maybe I've got swept up in your hedonism a bit, Jamesy, but I think the campaign for Mo Salah Ballon d'Or, we start burning things if that doesn't gain momentum tonight. And March, this is the weirdest month ever. Having played 8 million games, and you scroll through Liverpool's fixtures, if you actually get to March, I mean, there's one in a few hours, PSG. 4, Mark. Any worries for you going into these 4?
I mean, as far as the fixtures themselves, loads of worries, because I think we basically have to win all of them in some way, shape, or form. Maybe the PSG away one, a draw would do or whatever, but certainly the tie, as far as the season's concerned, we have to try and win that. It's a massive, massive. Champions League is almost becoming the main focus as we press further into the lead in the Premier League, and that starts to look more of a done thing. So enormous games. The Southampton one's enormous in its own right as well, because it's probably our easiest game on paper to the end of the season, which just comes with it big pressure. You have to win that game. And one of them's a cup final. So, that speaks for itself. Just 4 enormous games. I don't have any worries kind of in the context of the team, where we are, injuries, performance, any of that. I think we're in spectacular shape. Couldn't really ask for any more. But, all difficult games, really want to win them all. So the worry is that you don't.
You got to. I don't know. It's a weird when there's only 4. Like a draw or defeat almost seems more damning in a way, because there only is 4. There's not like the 8 to get it back, I suppose, so to speak. I mean, James, you tend to be the more positive Zen character. Relaxed about these 4?
Yeah, I mean, I'm relaxed because, our main priority is the league, and I definitely think that we can beat Southampton. And I would like I'd like Mo to score a hat trick, because I'll be triple captain him in fantasy. So, and the Newcastle game's massive because it's a trip to Wembley and it's a fantastic day out, and it'll be the first honours of Slot's era. So I think that would be great. To kind of tick that box. PSG, I mean, I'm not getting excited because last year we had our Dublin tickets booked. We thought we were going to get to the final of the cup, and look what happened. We got dumped out by Atalanta. So I'm just taking it as it comes. It's good that PSG have kind of looked at it as favourites. So that's good to have that, because then there's not that much pressure on us, and we still have the second leg in Anfield, which is fantastic. So they'll have their Anfield tonight, and we'll have our Anfield in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to it. I think that they're dangerous, but I think they're beatable as well. But the two that I'm really looking at is Liverpool and Southampton, and the cup final.
I don't know about you guys, but I've actually been quite surprised with the PSG stuff. You know, when the draw was made, I had quiet confidence about that. I thought they're good, but you know, we're better. We're only kind of Madrid or someone of that ilk would frighten me at this stage. And as it's kind of gone closer, the noises from them are so confident, bordering arrogant, that it's kind of put a little doubt into my mind almost. It's like, shit, how good are they? Like, you know, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing?
Well, it's funny you say that, because Ian McCartney's put in the chat panel he's confident Liverpool will win tonight. 5-a-bet, 2-0, 14-1. If that does come off, Ian, you can give us a share of that. But that'd be nice. But literally, I know exactly what you're saying. If you listen to Arne Slot's press conference on this, all the French journalists were like, are you shitting yourself that you're facing PSG or a variation of that? Like, you must be terrified, the pace of our attack, the skill, blah, blah, blah. And even João Neves, the player they put up, he was asked about Liverpool and what you reckon. And his comments were like, literally a case of, they've got some brilliant individuals, but just to be clear, we are by far the better team. I mean, it almost felt like one of those, like, pin it on the dressing room door, lads, type of thing for motivation. They are seriously confident for this. There's no two ways about it at all. I mean, James E was pretty certain there, Mark, for him. Southampton, that's the bigger one. The Carabao's massive as well. The European Cup, and typical Jamesy, you always lift it with a high, but bring us back to the downer of the Dublin non-event last year. Mark, are you the same of, like, in terms of, is it League, Carabao, Champions League in that order for you?
I mean, as far as importance of competition, it is. But I think if I'm looking at the fixtures individually, I don't think so. I think it's so difficult to those three at the end, the home Champions League, the home Premier League, and the cup final, they're all super important in their own kind of way. I would really struggle to separate them. I think probably the Champions League home one would be the one I would consider the most important, just because I do secretly think we've kind of broken the back of the Premier League. You know, I think even if we drew that one, we should still just go on and win it. And the cup final, I secretly think we'll win that as well, kind of thing. But the PSG at home one, I expect we're going to need something there. You know, I think we'll probably, you know, draw the first leg-ish, something like that, you know, and at least need minimum a draw or a win to go through, kind of thing. So I think that'll be the kind of highest tension game of them all, the most difficult, if you will.
The weirdest thing, whenever we ask this question each month about, like, which one's the most important, we start, before we get into predictions, usually there's always ones where we go, let's be honest, lads, we could maybe have a draw there, or we could drop points, or that's tough, and we're still okay. And it's been a proper first world problem season because it's been so good, and like a draw's not disaster. I just don't know if, because there is only 4 games this season, they all just seem magnified more than anything. I mean, in a weird way, I hate splitting them, but if you are going to lose any of the games, probably this one tonight. You know, if you left the Parc des Princes with a 2-1 defeat, it ain't the worst thing in the world. You still think, Anfield under lights, we can turn that around. However, I think you're right, James. Let's be honest. That's the one you'd pick on paper, isn't it? You expect to beat Southampton. You expect to beat Southampton comfortably. That one, then under the lights. And a final's a final. Anything can happen. So it is really difficult to split them, which I appreciate is a total politician's answer. But before anyone starts nailing me on this, let's get into predictions so there can be no hiding place. Jamesy, I'll come to you first of all for this one. Less than 2 hours to go. Parc des Princes against a confident bunch of Parisians. Give me a prediction.
Let's say a draw. Let's go 1 each.
1 each for that one. Mark?
I think this is the hardest one of the 4 to predict, because they're blistering in attack, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I definitely see goals. I think I'm going to go 2-1 them.
Do you know what? I'd almost swither in between. I had a thing 2-1. The one thing I'm pretty confident, I bet serious money this is not a goalless affair because of the attacks of both and the way. I'm going to go, and maybe it's a little more head than heart, 2-2 in the Parc des Princes tonight. That is what I'm going for. Right, Jamesy, get your abacus out for this. Liverpool, Southampton, triple captain. What you going?
Well, I think 5 or 6-0 I would be happy with, and Salah with a hat trick. That would be lovely.
Bullish there. Paolo Catano saying there he reckons 1-0 to the Pool tonight. Listen, if we can keep PSG to goalless, that will be seriously impressive, but we'll have to see. Jamesy's gone 5 or 6, Mark? Higher or lower?
I think we're kind of a team that once we've taken a strong lead, we tend to just see the game out and control it. So I'm going to go for 3-0.
Well, that's freaking boring, wasn't it? However, at the same time, I kind of think that way, to be honest. I think you'll see like an acceleration into the lead and then just that garbage time, as they call it, where we just knock it around. And in all honesty, everyone starts thinking about this one already in the next game, the PSG return leg, which is where we come to you, Jamesy, because you went draw first leg, Anfield, PSG, under the lights. It will be.
Well, you might think that I'm sniffing glue, but I think we'll hammer them. And the reason being, if you have a look at their squad and you look at how young some of those players are, I just think that Anfield will swallow them up. I think it'll be 3-0 to Liverpool.
3-0. Wow. The only thing incorrect with what you just said is you may think. Now I'm convinced based on that scoreline, so that's fine. Mark?
I actually somewhat agree with that. I think this is for a young
team, lad.
I think they're going to come, and I think this has all the makings. Assuming it goes in kind of close, it's one goal, one way or the other. I think this will be a huge atmosphere under the lights. There's, Messi's Barcelona couldn't handle it. I don't see why these lads will be able to. I think 3-1.
3-1. Okay. I suppose in my head, as I thought about it, I had 2-0, which if you think about it, isn't massively too variant from 3-1 in that regard. But I don't know if we'll blow them away. I think we'll have to ride our luck a bit at times because it's their attacking force more than anything. It's the defense, which is the question mark against it. But
I think we're going to see one of those classic 30 minutes, the first 30. I think we're just going to come out and really, really go for them.
Absolutely batter them. Now, this last one, Sunday the 16th of March, Wembley Stadium. This is super special. All three of us are going to be there. It's a cup final. We know how good these days are. Now, it's important to say for context, as we know right now, Anthony Gordon is out and Lewis Hall is out for Newcastle. So it's important we put that on the table. Isaac, people are saying, but there's no proof of that. It might just be wishful thinking. Jamesy, I'm not just going to ask you the score. I'm going to ask you normal time, yes or no, and the score.
I think normal time, and I think 2-0. I think it's one of those things. We've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. I think sometimes it can overwash Newcastle. They haven't been there in a long period of time. They're just there. So I think it'll be 2-0 Liverpool.
Mark?
Yeah, my heart says 2-0 Liverpool, but my head says every single time I go down to watch Liverpool at a cup final at Wembley, it goes to penalties. So I'm going 1-1 Liverpool win on penalties.
The only thing about this is it ain't Chelsea. That's a positive because as soon as you get Chelsea in a cup final, we're like, frig, let's look at the trains or the flight times. It's going to be extra time sort of thing. So maybe just in this one, this is the weirdest scoreline ever for a cup final, but I've got it in my head. 1-0.
No,
proper 1-0, maybe tight cup final because it is their season overall. Let's be honest. Everything about Newcastle, you kind of get it. All their focus is on this right now. So, 1-0. We will find out who is right in the next month or so. And then I can't believe we're actually saying this. a fucking international break. Who the hell puts an international break at this time of the season where there's like titles to be won and different things? You know, if you like your international football, like power to you, but absolute nonsense. So there we go. We have called March, which, if we're all correct in different ways, doesn't end up being a bad month at all. But speaking of the word bad, Jamesy, I've got to come to you for this first of all. Every month, it's like we're on repeat, isn't it? Will there be any updates on the contracts? Yes and no, Jamesy. Let's be honest. There's no official update. There's no one signing, but there's talk galore. David Ornstein joins Lewis Steele from the Daily Mail, Sam Wallace from the Telegraph, and there's these noises coming out consistently. Virgil and Salah, get the names right, are expected to sign. Trent, there's less confidence on. Those are consistent noises from journalists repeatedly. And even in the last few days, this Jamesy, Canate linked with PSG, with Real Madrid. You have been uber positive about this so far. Are you maintaining these uber positive contract levels?
Absolutely. I mean, you'd be a fool to think of sure Canadi, he's brokering for another deal. So why would he not get his agent to come out and say, look, say Real Madrid are interested and say PSG are interested so they can get a better deal? It's business at the end of the day. So I'm still overconfident. The only thing with Trent is obviously it's going to come down to emotional. It's going to come down to that kind of being a Skyser, boyhood club, loves the club. But again, in the other side of it, is he just exhausted? Is he just kind of, he's given it all to Jurgen Klopp and kind of wants just a new adventure? So that's kind of my thought process. But I still honestly do believe BBD and Salah are nailed on, and Trent, I think it will come into, the knock-ins of, we say this every month, but I do think it's going to be the knock-ins of April stroke into June before he kind of makes a decision.
So uber confident Mark turned into maybe there is a question about Trent after all. What about for you, thought-wise?
Yeah, I haven't changed my thought process much at all from where we were kind of pre-Christmas even, which is I still believe and I'm hopeful with Salah and Van Dijk, the noises still lean that way, and until they don't, I don't see any reason to get too upset and worried about it. It's very clear they want to stay, very clear. It's very clear we want them to stay. So, you got to hope that sense prevails there and, we come out with the result we want. The Canate one, I largely agree with James on that one. I think it's no surprise we're seeing him linked with other people while he's in the middle of a contract negotiation. It's literally the oldest trick in the book with those sort of things. I, again, gut feeling he wants to stay. Why wouldn't he? He's playing next to Van Dijk. If Van Dijk signs, there is no better place to play than next to Virgil van Dijk as far as learning your trade and also just having a brilliant guy next to you, to make things just that bit easier. That leaves Trent. And again, I haven't really changed my mind in that I don't understand. I thought in November, the fact that he hadn't signed was very telling. He's, like I said, not the same as the other guys with the age excuse or any of these things. He's a guy in his prime that we have wanted to sign up for a number of years, and he hasn't. So to me, that tells its own story. And I think at this stage, it's going to take something really out of the ordinary to change his mind, something... an emotional thing, not something like when we won the Champions League and you saw Gerrard on the field saying, how could I leave now? I think it's going to take something of that ilk, be it knocking Madrid out in the semis or something like that. I think something's going to have to change for us to keep Trent, because as it is, I think he's, a foot and a half out the door. I think he's 80% out.
Hustle Bones there saying he hopes Trent goes and everyone else stays. I think, to be fair, most people hope everyone stays, whether that's confidence. That is a different thing. Yeah, I kind of think, similar to you, the noises, and there's never any smoke without fire, etc. All the noises around VVD and Salah right now seem quite positive. It's quite clear they want to stay, so you hope that rule overrules everything else. But time is ticking on this. I may be wild on this. I believe if BVD stays, Canate stays, type of thing. I think there's like a big brother, little brother style relationship. I think kind of if big brother puts pen to paper, he'll almost tell little brother, like, right, now you sign yours. That's your job done. That they kind of come as cohorts there. So I expect like a double boost, so to speak, if you get
it.
And
also be the financial thing as well, right? Like if they might be waiting to see what Salah and VVD get, because that definitely affects the top line of what, you know, a Kanate can ask for. So it's sensible almost for him to wait it out and see where that goes.
Yeah, too right. All the chips are on his side of the table. He's the second best centre half in Europe, isn't he? Everyone wants him if he doesn't. So, yeah, we'll maybe see what happens there. Fingers crossed. And let's just flip it to something a bit different. We talk about contracts. Jamesy, all the names are being linked for summer now, aren't they? You've seen them, whether it be strikers, left backs, midfielders, all these different types of positions. Any names you're hearing exciting you and think there's something in it?
Isak and Kirkes, this is quite exciting. Those two, I think Isak is a considerable upgrade from what we have, a considerable upgrade. He's strong. We've looked at him before he moved to Newcastle as well. We were very much in the mix looking at him as well. And then Kirkes is just having a great season, energetic, great delivery, decent defender, and it would just be that quality. So again, those two kind of positions, it's an upgrade on what we have at the moment. So those two are the ones that excite me.
A striker and a left back, which probably a lot of people would argue we need as well. Mark, is it them two names or anything else twigging for you?
I think there's loads of exciting stuff kind of doing the rounds. It's a strange thing to say, but because of where we find ourselves in the league, but we actually do have two kind of fairly obvious weaknesses in the side, in that nobody has grabbed the centre forward position at all. You know, Nunes struggles to get in. They've tried Diaz in there, and I think we all agree that hasn't looked the finished article. Jota can't stay fit for any length of time. There isn't an obvious answer to that question other than the transfer market and finding someone else. And left back obviously has looked a weakness kind of all season. Robertson's had a few better games lately, but there's definitely a changing of the guard going to have to happen there, you know. So those are the two positions, without complicating it by talking about like the guys who might leave because of contracts and things like that. Those are the two positions in the current 11 that need upgraded on, essentially. And in the centre forward position, I get the Isaac stuff. I love Isaac. I think he looks great. You know, he's, like James said, a massive upgrade. But I actually was kind of more interested in the Cunha link, just because of the style of play type thing. You know, it's a little bit more Bobby-like in his movements and the positions he takes up and what he would kind of offer. And I still see the strengths of this team, goal scoring wise, coming from the wide positions. And as we know from all those years with Salah, Mane and Bobby, it can really elevate the wide men to have Acuna around them, you know, creating space, picking the pockets and you know, finding that pass. We don't have that at the moment. So I wonder, is the kind of thought process going on there? Are we looking longer term of kind of replacing Salah's goals, which might lean you more towards an Isaac than a Cunha, because you're going to need that guy to actually carry the goal load. Maybe not next year if Salah stays, but somewhere, you know, that's coming. That, you know, there's no way around that kind of thing. And then I guess the other forward that I found really exciting is Semenyo. I really like Semenyo. I think really fast, powerful guy. We saw against us a couple of times. He creates a yard for himself out of nothing. Very Sadio Mane-like, actually, the way he kind of shifts the ball and finds that moment to strike it. Great striker of a ball. Just an exciting player kind of all round. Then I guess the last one, I like Kirk as well, like James said, but I like the Wolves left back Nouri as well. I think he's got loads of stuff. Again, we saw it against ourselves when he played the other week, just really competent on the ball, good technician, gets up and down. I think a clear upgrade on the current two that we have. Plenty exciting stuff. It's a scary prospect, but like I think it would be fairly easy to make us a better team next season.
Does sound strange, doesn't it? Yeah, because when you're gonna, as you say, because when you're gonna win the title, it looks like it, but still be obvious upgrades in a couple of positions. Hustle Bones there saying Robinson, struggling to see that one because I think he's 28 in the summer from Fulham, despite how well he's done and a bit of a change there. Kirkes does keep coming up. You can't ignore that name. It's repeated time and time again. Whether you fully want him as your left back, that it does seem to be the one. Yeah, it's funny with the forward line. The only thing that does concern me a little bit to what you said, Mark, that if it is Isaac, if it is doable, Newcastle don't get Champions League, Liverpool will put the 120 million on the table, whatever it's going to take. There's a part of me thinks the only way they're doing that is if Salah's not sticking around, because you are changing the focal point of the attack completely. You can't pay 120 million for a striker and then not make him the focal point of your attack, which, as we said, number 9 right now is not the focus point. There's no two ways about it. It's the wingers who come in. You think the goals this season, if it's not Salah, it's been Gakpo on the left, hasn't it? Or Diaz is the third one. The number 9 hasn't really been sort of that point, and Jota's never available. And Núñez, well, we all remember Aston Villa and what we expect to happen in the summer. Jamesy, final question on this. If Isaac comes, because you're adamant that these 3 are signing, or Trent's maybe the one, but the other 2. If Isaac comes, do you think Mo Salah definitely stays?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're seeing an evolution into what Slot wants to do when he's playing his 4 in midfield. So his confidence with Jones, McAllister, and Grav and Szoboszlai. So there's the 4 in midfield, and then you've got like a transition with Salah and Isaac on front, and obviously you've got Gakpo in there. But there's I honestly do believe that he stays. Yeah, I do.
Interesting, Mark. Any real chance you think for Isaac? Because you kind of said, yeah, I like him, but when you answered earlier.
Well, it's just the money, as always. Like we're going to be working on a budget this summer, and a lot of it would go there. You'd be 100 plus to get him. It sounds like you would get Cunha for maybe almost half that kind of fee, somewhere in the 60s, maybe 60, 70 for him if there is a release. And I think with the contracts and the ideas that other guys might come and go, we might be looking for a new right back to start. We're probably looking for a new left back to start. Yeah. We probably still need cover in defensive midfield going forward. It looks like they're keen on a wide man as well. There's quite a lot of incomings to get through there. And if you blow all of your budget or most of it on Isaac, it just becomes more difficult in other areas. I don't see there being an issue with Salah and him playing together. Mo's a soup. We've seen it even with Darwin, for example. Mo seems to be able to find a way to link with most strikers. It hasn't worked so well with Diaz because he kind of gravitates left. Yeah. But certainly with Núñez, the runs in behind, he looks to love that. He looks for those balls all the time. He plays off Núñez. We know it worked with the other kind of striker when we had Bobby with him as well. I think Mo's just one of those kind of high-level intelligence players that finds a way to make it work with either. So I wouldn't be super worried about Mo and a striker. I would just be more worried that the outlay of how much it would cost to bring an Isaac in.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? The other thing I keep thinking about Isaac is, which we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier in the show as well, injuries. The boy is injured quite a bit. And the one strength we always talk about with Mo Salah is his availability. He's just always there, isn't he? Isaac hasn't completed 3,000 minutes in a single season. And to be spending 120 million or whatever it could take to get him in, there's just a few question marks there. And yeah, Helior Matias not sort of reassuring us there, but it's true. Does sound like Real Madrid are pursuing Canate as well, but we'll have to see what happens with his proposal. It's one of those, ladies and gents. Off the field, it's weird, isn't it? There's question marks galore about contracts, existing stars. Will they stay? Will they not? There's question marks then about who's coming in, who might be departing, left back, strikers, wingers. God, we didn't even talk about a 6 in this one yet. That's been the talk for the last few years. So many questions. And yet, all this while the Reds are 13 points clear at the top of the league, and they've got to navigate a tough tie in Paris and back. There could even be further glory on the horizon, and that's even before the end of March. We will have to see what unfolds. All that leaves me to say as ever is, Jamesy Mark, for the insights, for the predictions. It is much appreciated, gents.
Pleasure, mate.
Thank you.
Up the Reds.
And ladies and gents, that was another Red Alert for Anfield Index.